I'd like to discuss the use of the vibe roller on the plantar fascia. Now, there's three areas that the plantar fascia really needs to be worked on. Is directly on the heel, through the arch, and then at the metatarsal heads. So the first thing we'd like to show is how to release the plantar fascia on the heel. So this is one where you can actually use the roller standing on it, or you can use it in your hand. So I'm just going to demonstrate this with my hand first of all, is that the plantar fascia is basically right in the center of the heel, and it moves from the heel toward the foot, and it actually blends with the Achilles. So what you'll notice I'm doing on David is basically getting this right in the center of the plantar fascia, and then doing a sustained hold, or I can do a roll on it, or I can go cross fiber, or we can put the roller on multi-dimensional mode and it'll go faster and then slower, which is also good. Now, what David can do on his own is that he can actually do this with weight on his heel, adding ankle motion. So why don't we have you stand up on the table and we'll give this a demonstration. And so what he'll do is take the vibe roller and he'll get it right underneath his heel. Now, what he's going to do is lift his toes up, because as he lifts his toes up, it's going to tense that plantar fascia. Now, his first option for movement is going to be plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. And so this is providing more of a longitudinal with the fiber release of the plantar fascia. Now, the next thing he's going to start to add are inversions and eversions. So he's going to rotate the leg outward and then back inward. So he's using the ankle, but he's using the hip too, just to create a little bit of a rotary release in the plantar fascia. Very good, David. Now what he's going to do is start to move off the heel into the arch. So he's got the vibe roller right in the edge of the plantar fascia on the outside of his foot, and he's taking that up and down. Now what you really want to do with this is move through the lateral foot, the center of the foot, and the medial part of the foot as you're rolling. And you'll see David's very steadily moving his foot around and really using the roller to get to these different spots. And the nice thing about these is you can use either side, and then you can really get the contour of the foot down to the center. So as he's rolling his arch, if he really feels a spot that seems to be tighter than the rest, he can get a sustained pressure on that and use some hip rotation if he'd like. Or he could also use a mini squatting motion, bending the knee and then pushing back up. Or he can curl his toes and release them, as the short toe flexor actually travels right underneath the plantar fascia. So we get a 2-for-1 here.
And if that's too painful, Stephen, what else can I do? Because I know some people talk about putting that much pressure onto the plantar fascia is just too much pain for them.
Correct.
Is there a gentler treatment that we can do?
So really what I'd recommend if it is too painful, and oftentimes in the acute cases it is number one, get something for your pain. And in this case, I'm going to use some loss range joint and muscle CBD rub. And then we're going to take this and then he's just going to spread that throughout the arch of his foot. Now, what we want to do with the roller in this case is very similar to what we did earlier with the heel. But in this case, I'm going to have him, here David, and I'll let you do this. I'm going to have him, rather than rolling, is actually sliding along the plantar fascia. And then what I'd recommend is just using as much force as you can tolerate to start. There's no need to make pain any worse. Allowing the release to happen and then continuing to add force as the plantar fascia becomes more accepting. So you'll notice right now that David's using a spiraling technique. And so you can spiral, you can just slide up and down, you can use rotations, or you can move medial to lateral in a cross fiber sense. So I recommend that everybody try all of these, is that the more different angles you throw at soft tissues, the better the response is. And while we're here, let's go down to the next area too. So where the plantar fascia terminates is on the head of the metatarsals. And so what you can do with the roller here is really get it into the edge of those metatarsal heads and the ball of the foot. And you can use shorter movements with this. And then you can also move the toes sort of like piano keys, just going from side to side steadily across them. You can also use curling the toes or extending the toes. And what you really want to imagine as you're working this is that you're spreading this area out as you're getting congestion out of this. And so once again, for someone who can take a little more, is standing on this and getting the head of the metatarsals on it is a much more powerful technique. But we want to make sure with that technique we're not causing any more pain.